Lockie Daddo spoke with Marilyn Manson, once known as Brian Warner, yesterday.
Do you see yourself as a kind of New Age Jesus Christ? Is that what you want?
Well, in a strange way. You know, the irony is that a lot of religious people, you know, despise what I do, but I think that I've found myself having a lot in common with a person like Jesus. To me, he was, in some ways, the blueprint for the rock star icon. You know, he was someone who was misunderstood and had a vision of the world he wanted to show to people, and he became an image of suffering that people have held up and worn on their necks, just like kids will hold up and wear concert t-shirts these days. So in a strange way, Jesus kind of created the blueprint for celebrity.
You hold a lot of power to influence young people. Your songs are about drugs, suicide, killing other people. Do you ever feel guilty about the message that you're putting across?
Well, I think to say that the songs are about those things is probably incorrect.
Well, they have the messages in them.
I think that there's a way for me to examine what's going on in the world, things that I see around me, and I tell people what I think about it. I tell them directly. A lot of people are afraid to say what's on their mind. But I don't think I ever encourage people to do things that hurt themselves or hurt others. I think, if anything, I encourage people to be creative, to express themselves.
Actually, everywhere you go, you're causing a huge controversy, religious, political. And for a journalist, from a journalist's point of view, you're a great story, but then you've got people like Alfred Nile who didn't want you to come into the country. You've got President Clinton calling you evil. What do you think about that?
I think the way that they react kind of proves my point a lot of times, because I'm also questioning their hypocrisy and their behavior. And for Clinton to say something about me, obviously, we've seen, you know, what his behavior is. And someone like Fred Nile, I think, to me, what I've learned over the years with that type of reaction is that if someone wants to look like a good guy, they have to point out who the bad guy is. So often I get to be the bad guy. But I think most of the time it's that person wanting to better their career or to get their name in the paper alongside mine. I think they care less about the youth than I do.
So do you mind being the bad guy, and how do you feel, you know, are you evil?
No, but I think the bad guy has always been more exciting. You know, all my favorite characters in literature were always the bad guys because they all had human flaws. You know, I don't think there is a real hero that's a good guy that doesn't do any wrong. I think it's okay to be human and to be a sinner or to be whatever it is. I think good and evil is what you like and what you don't like, and everyone has, you know, different tastes, so you can't expect everyone to agree on that. I don't think I'm a bad person. I don't go around killing animals like these people saying things like that. I have pets. You know, I'm not such a bad fella. I'm an advocate of the Bible. I read the Bible. I grew up in a religious home. But I just don't like the way people have used the Bible to make other people feel guilty about themselves. I think it's a good book. It's a great story. But I think a lot of religion is very damaging to people's lives.
Now, your alter ego, Brian Warner, grew up in Ohio. When and where did he go and why to become Marilyn Manson?
Well, growing up in a private Christian school, I had to wear a uniform and I had to have my hair cut a certain length, and I wasn't allowed to listen to heavy metal music, and I was very afraid of the end of the world because it was a lot of doom and gloom being preached there. So as I got older, I began to discover music and discover art. I found that I wanted to express myself that way. And I first tried being a journalist myself and found that I'd rather be answering the questions than asking them. So I went on to try music and haven't turned back since.
And so how did you come up with this androgynous creature that you're personifying and putting out there?
I guess it's just the way I've always seen myself on the inside. I think society wants us to be one thing, And I've always felt that to be too limiting.
What message, to the people watching today, what message would you like to leave them with?
Well, I think probably it's going to be a lot of people's parents, and I think they should be afraid of what I do, and they should be pissed off. And if that makes them have a better relationship with their kids, and they sit down and talk to their kids more, I think that's a positive thing. I think they should also remember that their parents didn't like what they listened to when they were growing up also.
Marilyn Manson talking with Lucky Dado there.